They make it look so easy, connecting with another human being. It's like no one told them it's the hardest thing in the world.
The stages of loneliness to me are the best ideas explored in Dexter. It being such a widespread sentiment, I'm sure many of you like myself can relate to this harsh reality. We see many characters over time, like Deb, Dokes and Quinn, all battle with this feeling. But Dexter is the only character that constantly struggles internally with solitude. Today, I'll be discussing the reality of loneliness in Dexter and why it is one of the most realistic depictions in television. From his introduction, we see that Dexter is an outsider. He alienates himself when he speaks about people, referring to them as humans as if he isn't one too. He's convinced he can't feel anything, but right from the beginning, he envies human connection and has a longing to be seen. His true self is only ever discovered by his victims right before he kills them, but that changes when his brother enters his life. Brian Moser is the perfect villain, because he weaponizes the only weakness Dexter has, his aloneness. For years, Dexter has been pretending, playing make-believe, but now he has a brother who is exactly like him. Brian's goal is to set his brother free from the chains of acting normal and to seduce Dexter into a darker life. And although it would be easy, although it's the life Dexter needs, it's too big of an ask. The code he lives by, his father's law, doesn't allow it. So he betrays a brother for a foster sister that would turn away if she saw him for what he truly is. In season 1, Dexter does change by the final episode, but his loneliness comes back full circle. Any effort of being seen is crushed since the one person who saw him had to be put down. We may not be serial killers per se, but season 1 mirrors our desperation to connect with people. The idea of a person being like me and you becomes foreign, because we refuse to let go of the idea that it would be too dangerous for us to reveal our true selves. And when we observe others, we envy how easy extroverts make it seem to connect with one another. Later in the story, we see Dexter deal with betrayal twice. His father, Harry, betrayed him by not ever telling him he had a blood brother who is exactly like him. This huge secret being kept from him hurts. But what shatters him is the fact that his father's death is caused when he walks into his own creation. The code was an idea, a theory, but to actually see it was just too much. The one man who saved Dexter and guaranteed his survival was repulsed by his own son, which creates a conflict index. He wants to be seen, but he knows no one in the world can handle it because not even Harry could. But what happens when one man claims to be proud of Dexter for who he is? Miguel Prado was the first friend Dexter ever had, and although it took time, he slowly gained his trust. The importance of Miguel is the parallels he and Brian share. They reassure Dexter that he doesn't need to apologize for being himself.
You don't ever have to apologize to me, Dexter. Not for who you are, or anything you do.
Nothing to apologize for. Ever.
And use Dexter's aloneness to try and achieve their own personal agendas. Miguel manipulates Dexter right from the start and was able to capitalize on his need for a friend and a brother. In their final interaction, Dexter admits he was played and comes to the conclusion he will always be destined to be alone. The common question asked after betrayal is, will I ever trust again? It's normal to cut someone off, no pun intended. And the after effect is, I will never make that same mistake. The realization that someone so close to you could cause this amount of damage weighs heavy and creates a wall between you and the outsiders. They peep over, almost convincing you that they're genuine. But the fear of a repeated cycle is the perfect deterrence. Dexter's fear of the aftermath of someone finding out the truth has more to do with abandonment than imprisonment. Even in season 1, Dexter's hesitancy to be intimate with Rita boils down to the thought of her leaving because she'll find out he's empty. He sits up beside her, dreading their relationship ending, but is surprised when she wants to do it again. Whether Dexter has emotions or not is an interesting debate, but you'd have to watch the show with both eyes closed to not realize he had them from the very start. When Deb is shot, he says he'd be lost without her. In the couple's therapy session, he says he's afraid to let Rita see who he truly is, because she'd absolutely leave him. When Lumen leaves, after he begs her not to, Dexter automatically reverts back to his old self, believing he was a fool to believe he could ever be human. The fear of abandonment causes Dexter to subconsciously detach himself emotionally, because if he ever gets attached, there's a chance he'd later be left behind. And when he is abandoned by his father and his lover, it only destroys the flicker of hope he rarely has for himself. When a relationship ends, it hurts knowing everything you put into that person, trust, time and effort, more or less means nothing, since you're alone again. And this continues the cycle. The only way to break it is to accept who you are. Dexter is almost too good at accepting who he is. He wants to do better, to be better, but he can't seem to escape the dark passenger. Harry said it himself, what got into him happened too early, and time again he accepts his urge is just too powerful. To accept himself entirely, he must bear the question, am I alone or free? Pretending is exhausting, and the only time Dexter is alone by choice is when he is on his boat. On the water, there is no one left to pretend for, and in all 8 seasons of the original show, we see Dexter's connection to the ocean. It is, of course, his method of disposal, but also a tunnel for letting go. He loves his boat. To sit down watching the moon feels calming, especially after a kill. When he thinks about turning himself in, he chooses to go out on his boat with Rita and the kids. And I like to think the ocean is Dexter's comfort place, a place only shared with loved ones. To be alone also grants you freedom, since you have no one to answer to, hold you back, or let you down. To accept your circumstances is to acknowledge you have peace, and this is one of the relatable conflicts we see in Dexter. I'm sure there are many amazing depictions of loneliness all across media, but Dexter beautifully represents what it's like to feel alone in a room full of people. The observer watches his surroundings, noticing everyone, but not one person notices he is truly not there. He is constantly in his head, and over time has gone through a cycle of longing, betrayal, fear, acceptance, and freedom. Dexter has become my ultimate comfort character, because if you haven't guessed already, I have suffered with loneliness myself. To see it show, funny enough, about a serial killer, present the idea that loneliness has multiple stages, feels honest and true to life. And although Dexter Resurrection seems to be more upbeat, I will always love this element in the show. If you made it to the end, follow the first rule of the code and subscribe. It may seem small to you, but it means the world to me. Have an amazing day.